Can I say something about that? You
Yeah,
can be the juiciest, most supple, delicious apple, and there's still going to be people don't like apples.
that's right. That's right. I like that you added the word supple to that. It's I always say ripest, but I think I'm going to adopt supple.
Yeah, well, ripest, I'm not sure. It never feels like it's proper grammar.
Okay. The Hollow Bunny. And we all feel hollow sometimes. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Hollow Bunny Leadership Podcast. I'm Kristen Zeman, and I'm here with one of my most magnificent mentors, Sylvia Moyer. We're both former police chiefs, but our millions of listeners know that this Hollow Bunny podcast is not just for cops. Nope, not at all. It's for anyone who has an interest in talking about life and leadership, and I don't know, some other bullshit things that we seem to come up with.
No, bullshit implies that they're not meaningful, interesting, and important. Kristen Zeman, they're not
some
bullshit.
okay, sometimes, oh, you know what they are. Okay, so if we're keeping with the bunny metaphor, sometimes maybe they're just like ancillary accoutrements on the hollow bunny, right? Not the fillings, but maybe like the bow tie, right? That you put on the outside, maybe. I need
So
to
the problem is everybody's stopping, they're pausing, and they're googling accoutrement. Accoutrement.
accoutrement.
What is it? Maybe an accessory? Is that an accoutrement?
I think it is. Yeah, you sound like my wife right now who says, "Why do you have to use that word? Why when you know I don't know what that word means?" And I said, "Okay, I'm sorry. Why I shouldn't use, such a big word when a diminutive one will do."
She says that to you, and then she says, "Still, less words, fewer words." I'm like, come on, I'm trying to give you full context, to give you the full understanding, and bring all the texture. She said, "You two, a lot of words, big words,
Yeah.
dumb it
Yeah, she says that to us a lot. No, less words, please. Less words, please. So I don't know why, but I just channeled Chris Tunney and all of that when you said, "Why do you have to use accoutrements?"
down."
That's
Right?
hilarious.
I said to somebody recently, I said, "Does this require reciprocity?"
That's a great word. What
And
did they say?
she started laughing, and it wasn't
Yeah.
kind of the environment that you would actually want laughing, which I
Right.
won't
Yeah.
go and describe the whole thing, but
Yeah.
uh,
Uh,
I guess it struck her as kind of funny. Is
Reciprocity is such a great word and a great concept. It's one of my favorite words. Like, reciprocity, quid pro
I
quo.
I I love it,
Yeah.
and it's different than scorekeeping, right? Because
Yes.
reciprocity is really the give and take. It's the I fill you when you need me as your home girl. You fill me, but we're not keeping score. There's a
Yes.
Let's talk about that to launch this thing.
Yes, hold on. You see, this is what you do for me is when you say something and it sparks something. So yesterday I was listening to a podcast, Simon Sinek's A Bit of Optimism
Less
podcast.
viewers than ours. Let's less listeners. Yeah.
Love oh, he's got far less listeners than us for sure.
Yep.
And he was talking about reciprocity
Well,
and that in friendships. And so he was having a conversation, and the conversation was, is do friends keep score? If I ask you to come, hey, I'm moving still, will you come over and help me pack my boxes and move into my new house? Is this an ode? Is it transactional? And true friends don't think of things like that, right? If you ask me to help, yes, if you ask me to help you move, I wouldn't put a tick mark there. And that's the difference between business transactions where
oh,
someone is owed something, right?
oh,
Versus true friendship where it's like, I don't care how many tick marks you have, on the side of me giving, I'm not keeping score. It's so interesting, isn't it?
look, here's what's interesting. We haven't used the word reciprocity with each other like ever.
Ever.
And I talk
Yeah.
about it today. I bring it up today, and lo and behold, you probably had your little rucksack on. You're walking, listening to damn Simon Sinek, and he's
Yes.
talking about reciprocity. Don't you think
Right.
that's weird? First of all,
That is
second,
weird.
if you called me as your friend and said, "Sil, will you come help me move?" You know what I would say? I would say I'll be there, but bitch, please write a check. That's next level friendship. And Simon Sinek didn't say that in his dumb ass pub.
Wait, do you mean write a check like to a mover so we don't have to do it?
Me. I'll be
Yes.
there to supervise, maybe get a towel to get the sweat off your hair, out of your hair. I'd get you a nice cool beverage, maybe some snacks. I'd make like a nice little board and we'd have little snacks. But I said, bitch, write a check to that movie
Write a
company.
check. Right. That's right.
That-
Okay. You know what? I feel that on so many levels. I'm really glad that you brought that up. But
Did
you
you
would still be there.
example? Okay, I would be there. I would say, yes, now let's explore this.
Yes.
This is absolutely essential to what we're talking about today.
It is.
We would not keep score. I don't know how many times I've been called you versus you called me. I don't know how many times you've been to my house versus I've been to yours. I don't know if you've filled my coffee cup and I filled yours, or that's some bullshit. That's what
Hmm.
you're offering. That's what Simon Sinek is saying, right? In the
Yeah.
friendship, you don't do that.
Yeah. He was arguing though that, okay, here's a great example. He was saying that, if you have two friends, right? And you ask, "Hey friends, will you come over and help me move?" And one of them shows up and helps you, pack your boxes and helps you move, helps you write that check to the movers. And then if both friends, this is interesting, both friends ask you for a favor on the same day,
Okay.
you're going to pick the friend that helped you move to. And so he was saying sometimes things are transactional and that we're human and we are going to go, oh wait, they did this for me, so I'm going to do that for them. How do you feel about that?
Oh, completely true. And
Yeah,
then
it's true.
all you have your ride or die. Like if Maria called me and said, Sil, I need you, I don't know, to give me a kidney. I'd be like, all right, what do I wear? And where do
Done.
I show up? Right?
That's your first thought, is what do I wear to give you a kidney? That's the first thing that comes up for you.
Um,
What do I wear?
what do I wear? Where do I show up? What,
Okay, that's funny. That's
I
really
don't
funny.
know. You're so
That's
funny.
adorable. That's
So
adorable.
he's right. And this is absolutely true. So you have the two friends. What he's saying is you don't keep score because it's a big deal. I believe with your true friends, you don't keep score. I don't keep score with you. I
No.
don't keep score.
Mm-mm.
I never keep score with Maria. I
Mhm.
don't score with my core people, right?
Mhm.
Randall, the people in our lives. We know who they are.
Mhm.
However, what he's saying is if two of your friends, one helps you, I see one has helped you move, and then
Mhm.
on the same day, both of them call, you're going to go to the one that helped you move.
Yes, I think that's true. Yeah.
Yep.
And so I guess you can't take away completely, the transactional where it is sometimes a quid pro quo. But anyway, that's kind of a digression. But I just thought it was such an interesting conversation. It was great. So he
Well,
had on it was Seth Godin he had on as a guest, and I'm a big fan of his as well. So I just thought it was just such a hearty conversation. But it really brings us into, since you brought up, reciprocity,
yeah,
but it brings us into the people in our lives that help us. And as you know, I have put people into categories throughout my career and dubbed the term mentors and tormentors. And I have had both throughout my career.
mhm,
Fortunately, I've had far more mentors that have helped me along the way. And an interesting piece here, and probably true for you just by the nature of our profession, is that most of the mentors have been male. Is that
yes.
true for you as well?
Yes, and I think it makes sense because it
Mm-hmm.
does give us a perspective. Those are in a sense, they're the men are the primary decision makers in our
Mm-hmm.
biz. So it
Yeah.
makes sense for us to have both,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I call the men, and I don't want to get any backlash, don't at me, but the men are the gatekeepers. If we want to change, the environment and bring more women in, it is true that men are the gatekeepers. And some of the best men I know are the ones who are saying, "Hey, come on in. We're saving a place for you here." And so I think that needs to be acknowledged, that so many great men, but to really think about how we choose our mentors. Now, our tormentors, I don't think we actually choose them. I just think that they sort of happen to us.
Come out of the depths of hell and
Yes.
just show up before us. right?
Yes, yes. Trying to
Mhm.
sideline us, trying to throw the brick wall, trying to throw the stop sticks in our path. How about that for a metaphor for law
Right.
enforcement? Yeah.
Or guide us in a wrong path, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, and in some ways they don't know that they're a tormentor. Let me highlight this one thing before you talk about how you select a mentor, right? So there's a really prominent female executive in policing that I know of. She has really tried. She's in the upper levels of a large organization. She needs operational experience to be in command of field operations, right? We need this well-rounded demonstration of talent experience to demonstrate to folks that we can lead in an operational realm and in addition to an administrative realm and the other things. She is not being given the opportunity to go into field
Mm,
operations, and that is a barrier for her. So while
yeah.
her mentor, her guide, her decision maker may not really be a tormentor, he may be one click left of a tormentor because he doesn't recognize that he is a barrier to her higher evolution as a leader.
That is so interesting. It's not an outward act of sabotage, right? But
Yeah.
it is most certainly an impediment in her path. That's a very interesting distinction. So now I have to come up with another term. So it's mentors, tormentors, and something, in between that just blocks your path. I don't know. Let's think about that. Maybe one of our millions of listeners can send us an idea on what to call that. So that is so interesting.
There's a
But
great book by Alice Carley, who it's Into the Labyrinth, I believe is what it's called. And really, what she offers is that women were barred from going into business and into professions in the first wave. The second wave was the glass ceiling. They could get in, but they couldn't really ascend to the higher levels. The third is Into
Mhm.
the Labyrinth that offers that the doors open, but we need mentors, we need guides that will direct us how to navigate through the maze, through the labyrinth, so we don't waste our valuable time. So I
Yeah.
see kind of as a mentor, one of my obligations when I mentor folks is to understand how they want to be mentored, to
Yeah.
understand, kind of have an emotional contract, behavioral contract for how we engage with each other,
Mhm.
how frequently, how we will engage, what permissions do I have to speak truth about what I see, and some of the experience that I have to where they are and where they want to go, and
Mm.
then where I would guide, advise, champion for them.
Right.
So there has
Mhm.
to be that understanding, and part of it is things like I remember getting promoted to lieutenant and or to sergeant. They asked, "Where do you? We want to put you in special projects," and I said, "Chief, I want you to send me to graveyard patrol." And they said, "Why would you want to go to graveyard patrol?" I said, "Because I want to earn it. I want to get the chops. I want to be get boots on the ground and have that cred and that experience." And I force the issue. Some don't get to force the issue. So
Yeah.
how do we then help those folks navigate, men and women, who have been
Mhm.
pigeonholed or placed in spots that don't serve them any longer? And then what are the
Yeah.
principles around that, right? As a
Yeah.
mentor.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. And so I think maybe the question here is that, and this is the question that I've been asked many times is how do you find a mentor? And
Yep.
I'm gonna go a little rogue here, and I'm probably gonna say something unpopular that
Uh-oh.
I don't believe in formal mentoring programs at all.
I
And
don't either.
okay,
We're
so
rowing together.
yeah, I actually didn't know that you didn't either. I don't believe in them, and here's why. I don't think you can take two humans in this, in a format to say you human are going to be the mentor, you are going to be the protege. Now, please go forth, and do the work. I
Yeah.
think that relationships happen organically. The way that I choose mentors is that I watch someone, and most of the time I don't know them very well, but I watch them how they move about in the world and the position or the goal that they have that I want to achieve. So it's
Yeah.
typically someone who has done or is doing what I want to see myself doing, and I reach out to them, and I hope that they will respond. And sometimes so they don't, which has been really a lot of humble pie, eaten, is like, wow, I didn't even, get a response from them. But the ones who have are the ones that I have found that are so willing to say, yeah, here's been my journey. Let me help you get there. And so that is how I've chosen mentors over the years. And that's also how I've been chosen, because I certainly wouldn't want to force myself. And I remember being the chief of, my department, over 300 sworn officers. And I felt like it was my job to try to mentor some of the women, but also you can't force that, And so I said, hey, if you're interested, I am here.
Yeah.
And some people took me up on it and some people didn't. So I don't know. What do you think about that? Of just, it's got to be by choice, and it unfolds into, it's like dating. It's like, it unfolds organically into something of a relationship. Don't you think?
I completely agree. If there's a formal mentoring program, what it might do is provide structure and perhaps some contracts for agreement, because we certainly don't want people to misunderstand. There are some really good folks out there who have formal coaching
Yes.
businesses, for instance. That's different, right?
Yes.
Those are the people that will engage with. You don't know them, you reach out, they have some skills, they can coach you in a very specific way, and there's a monetary exchange for that. And then there are friends, there are people that you reach out to and say, hey, Chief Seaman, I saw you at this conference, I've watched how you were on the perf board or on the ICP board, I've watched what you've done with your book Reimagining Blue, I've seen what you've done related to reducing the and mitigating mass shootings, and I've seen what you've done. I want to elevate what I do, and would you mentor me? That
Hmm.
that is the organic piece you're talking about. It's very
Hmm.
different than a formal coaching program. It's very
Hmm.
different than a formal coaching business. Where
Hmm.
there's a mentoring program, maybe it gives you some guidelines on how to succeed. That's what I would argue and
Hmm.
agree with you. Maybe it says here's some kind of parameters, right?
Yeah. Yeah, perhaps that's interesting, and there's certainly nothing wrong with formal coaching, and and then and again, using the word again, transactional, is because people's time most certainly are valuable, and skills are valuable, and I've reached out to coaches in the past, and and have paid for coaching, and
Sure.
I it's been very beneficial for me, and I'm finding myself now in that place and time in my life where I have a lot of people, where a lot of time, is being dedicated to their development. And so now it's been part of my consulting, where, it is a coaching, mentoring business that I'm looking at. Right. But so there are different kinds, none are wrong.
None are wrong. And you know what might come out of a phone call? The hundreds of people that have reached out after the conference and said, "Hey, I'd like to connect with you. Could you help
Mm,
me with this next stage of my career where I am right now?"
yeah.
There's a real piece to say, "Yes, I'd like to," and right,
Yeah.
and they're directed to something more formal so that there are different kinds of agreements, and that makes
Hmm.
total sense. So I think as someone who serves as a mentor, you have to find out what the person wants and needs.
Hmm.
And quite frankly, the hardest thing is when you get a volume of people reaching out and you just can't serve them all.
Yeah.
That that's hard. It's disappointing as a mentor, right?
Hmm.
But to be clear, and then when you are seeking a mentor, I think I would encourage, and I want to hear what you have to say about this, KZ, is I would encourage someone to say, okay, you have something that I want to tap into. There seems to be a vibe. I've watched you, I've observed you, I've heard you, and might you serve me in this piece?
Hmm.
I think that's okay. And
Mm.
so find someone that you want to reach out to, find a way to reach out to them. And then I'd encourage, if they don't respond immediately, don't be discouraged. Know that perhaps some other folks have seen the very same thing and they're serving some other people. Be tenacious. Don't be
Yeah.
creepy. Don't stop. Don't go to Google, and find out where they live. Don't be weird about it, but be
Yeah.
tenacious and kind.
Yeah, I love that so much. I love that. And I love that the focus here is on the mentors. And you know what? I think that we would be remiss if we didn't, talk about just ever so briefly the tormentors in our lives and those people who, actively go out of their way, to sabotage, whether it be sitting on the sidelines, and trolling, or what have you, or genuinely going out of their way to build a brick wall on your path. And we've talked about this so many times, is there's going to be roadblocks and there are going to be people, and whether you understand why or not. And I've spent way too many hours in my life wondering why, what did I do? What did I do to make this person decide to build this brick wall in my path? And sometimes, actually most of the time, I don't land on an answer. I can never make sense of it. And so I think what the focus here is to acknowledge that you've got some snipers, and acknowledge that you've got some tormentors, and maybe that makes you step up your game a little bit. Maybe a worthy rival is what I like to call it. Someone that is going to throw down some stuff in your path, and you now have to figure out a way to circumvent that. And so just acknowledge it. But I think the key here is that your eye has to be on the end in mind, the goal at all times. Do not focus on the obstacle.
Oh, Kristen, you said to me, you looked me in the eyes and you put your finger up like in that kind of Kristen way. And you're like, turn that into fuel. Turn
That's
that
right.
into fuel. Fuel will focus us. And fuel, when stored and utilized appropriately, leads to our clarity and leads to our endurance. And
That's right.
so, and to endure is an incredibly important piece of this leadership imperative.
It is. And that is the let us leave you with this most important message. And that is, when you learn to use criticism as fuel, you will never run out of energy. So just put that fuel in your tank. And that's where
Or
what grit and resilience are built, is when you can press on in spite of it, and you can keep going with that tenacity to reach your goal, knowing that no one is going to stop you.
And you know what, Kristen has been there recently. When you use that fuel and you couple it with an absolute desire and commitment to increase your kindness, compassion, and your generosity for yourself and others, that fuel will not degrade you, it will propel you.
Retweet, Sylvia Moyer. We are going to leave that wisdom right there. And our podcast is produced by Ted Madden. And the song that you're about to hear was written and performed exclusively for our podcast by my handsome and talented son, Jake Zeman, and his accomplished friends, Fabian and Zoe. And if you like the podcast, just click subscribe. Just
Subscribe.
click like, subscribe, and tell everyone you know about it, share it. And if you don't, just move along. Nothing more to see here.
Nothing.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
When you look inside, what do you find? Are you content to fall behind? When you lose your way and you've lost your why, have courage and get ready to fight the hollow bunny. When the way ahead is covered in smoke and you're tired and you're scared and you're losing hope, you'll open your heart and your eyes to see a challenge and a question. Why not me? To fight the hollow bunny. And we all feel hollow sometimes, but the monsters are only in your mind. It's a tough pill to swallow, but if you're brave and kind, you'll be alright. If you fight the hollow bunny. When the challenge ahead scares you to death, you tame the imposter inside instead. To change the world, you've got to start small. It takes a leader to say, I don't know it all. And I know I'm gonna fall, but I'll pick it up and come back stronger, failing for Something's gonna crack, you've gotta start again. You're tough on the outside, but empty within. Something's gonna crack, you've gotta start again. The monster